Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in for the introduction to the Bowline stack Paracord chain link. So before we get going here, I want to show off a few of my projects. This was something I did about 20 years ago or so. This is actual paracord that my dad gave me before he passed away. And military paracord. I made this wood baton in high school. Drilled it out in North Carolina, filled it with lead, and I used paracord to do a half hitch. You can see it goes underneath. This is a electrical shrink insulator in a commercial size I used with a heat gun to shrink down on there, so you can't see the actual paracord that's underneath it, but it's placed there to strengthen the shaft because the bore of lead is substantial. And then down here on the handle it has a drill through paracord twist. It feeds through this hole here and back out. Get in a little bit closer there under the details. So you have several strands that come up into a twist. They lay flat, go through a loop and around. So it creates sort of a handle that you can slide your hand into, like so. Sort of like a scabbard, I guess. Or if you would like, you can take it off the end and wrap it around your wrist. So that was the idea behind that. A couple of my other projects here I've learned all of my paracord skills just by watching the YouTube University. Came up with some very simple tools. When you go to burn the end of the cord, I have this spark plug socket that has this knurling on it. Heat the cord up, smolder, stick it on there, and then you end up with, let's see an example here if I've got one. You get a really nice pattern there, and it's smoother than it looks, and it displays it out, and it kind of gives it the pattern of the paracord micro weave, very similar. This one was a rapid deployment type stitch, looks a lot like the Cobra. I got that little clasp there off the top of a water bottle. Right there, you can use just about anything. This was a shackle, tiny little shackle. Over here, these are ones that I bought for the purpose of paracord buckles. This one's putting off speckling because both the lime green and the black cord have 3M high visibility reflective going through them. This particular weave is the rapid deployment, and it has a survival type buckle on it that has a whistle, and then it has a striker for a ferrous rod that is on the inside. If I can open that up, I'll show that to you. Right there's a ferrous rod there, and then once the bracelet's apart, use that striker right there and you can strike a fire, and there's a whistle for getting people's attention. Okay, so then I went on to the Mad Max style snake knot. On this one, I did a double termination loop on it so that the knot on the end doesn't pass through. You can kind of see how that would have to go through two different loops in order to come out, and then when it's on the wrist, that of course tucks underneath like so. It comes out like that. So it ends up being a pretty clean little knot in the end. So aside from the paracord bracelets, I also like to have lanyards on all my knives because I'm a knife collector. This is a CRKT M21, and for this I really didn't get a good lanyard hole to use with this knife anywhere, so what I was able to do was just attach onto the pocket clip itself with this paracord pattern that is a Cobra knot that has a third piece of material weaved through it to give it a little bit different look there. It may be one of my most favorite patterns right there. So yeah, all of my knives I put a lanyard on of one sort or another. And which brings me to the story about this one. So what you have here, instead of a really tight weave, a pattern, is almost like, you can see the holes that go through it. It forms like a chain link style. And a friend of mine, as I was showing him my projects as they progressed, he says, you should think about coming up with your own style or pattern or not. And obviously you go immediately to all of the good ones are already taken, but I gave it a shot regardless and came up with something that I like quite a bit. I've got a sample of it right here, and it's a little bit more expanded to give everybody an idea. So basically you have a repeating knot and an open link as it goes. And what I did in order to come up with this was, so I did 4 years in the Navy. In the Navy you learn how to tie the bowline. If you don't know how to tie the bowline, it is probably, aside from a basic hitch, the oldest knot that's been used in any Navy throughout time. You use the bowline to create a loop at the end of a line, and the beauty of the bowline is that it's simple to tie, it will not slip, and when you're finished with the knot, it comes undone fairly easy. So you learn how to tie the bowline when you go into the Navy. That's a boot camp thing you learn how to do. And so what I did to develop my own pattern, or attempt it, was I thought, well, the bowline is a pretty good place to start. So what I did was tied a bowline and then sort of cinched it up tight, and I tied the next bowline, cinched it up tight, and on down the line. And it didn't make really that beautiful of a repeating pattern. And I thought, so I was messing with it, and I grabbed it by either end and I pulled it tight, and I found, kind of to my surprise, that the paracord weave stretched, and as it stretched, the knots tightened and cinched down like the bowline will do, and it opened up these links in the inside. And I thought maybe I was onto something. I like the repeating pattern. It's different. It looks a little bit like a chain, and it also follows an interesting pattern where it rotates as it goes down. So you use the main part of the line to go straight down, and then you use the part of the line that comes out of the top of the knot, and you bring it around and you repeat the knot. And as you bring it around and repeat the knot, what happens is the knot begins to spiral. If you can see that black line there, if I can roll it around for you, it has this interesting spiraling pattern. And I am going to show you how to do that today. Again, you end up with a finished product with a smaller opening or a smaller link that looks like this. Okay, so here's how you tie the knot.